What is up, everyone? We are coming at you with another video today, going over my top 5 safe altcoins that I have the highest conviction in. So there will be no talk about memes on here because of course those aren't safe. These are going to be strong, solid projects that I think are doing great fundamentally, and I'll get into my reasoning for each of these. But I definitely think that these are all safe bets to have some pretty safe, conservative gains on your portfolio if you're looking for some coins like that. Now, the first thing and the only thing I would like to mention is that none of this is financial advice and for you to do your own research. I have to say that legally. But the first coin we're going to be getting into on our list today is, of course, one that I talk about a lot. I talked about it yesterday, going into Aerodrome Finance. Now, a lot of you were concerned about how I was going for like $50 price predictions previously and then lowered that to around a $5 to $10 range, and I'm going to explain that. So $5 to $10 for Aerodrome is conservative. So I believe that Aerodrome has potential to reach $20+ potentially even into that $30 range, simply comparing that to what Uniswap was able to accomplish last cycle, and understanding that base could be bigger than most narratives this cycle. I think Aerodrome has room to grow in that regard. Although the reason I give those low conservative price predictions is just so you do not have people going in expecting monumental gains and then, holding their bags till Ace expected $30 and then they, get drained, because that is ultimately what happens. So it'd be disingenuous for me to go and give these lowball price predictions for Aerodrome, or these high price predictions for Aerodrome Finance, when in reality that there's a potential that could not happen, but there's also a potential it could. So I just like to make that aware. I think there is potential for Aerodrome to hit some pretty big numbers, but I think the best approach you could do is to take profits at those conservative price ranges and then maybe leave in a moon bag to hit like $15, $20, $25, leave in a small percentage of your Aerodrome bag to hit those higher numbers, if that makes sense. And again, what I'm basing that off of, and there's always comments on TA, I do not use TA for long-term bull run analysis. There's a ton of different factors you have to look at, because predicting a coin that's not even a year old, that hasn't had a cycle before, to predict a top, which we don't even know when that's going to happen, that's almost impossible to do. And if you attempt to do that, you're probably going to end up being wrong by a mile. So again, I really believe in TA being a good short-term factor to use, but again, for those long-term cycle predictions, especially with like black swan events and stuff like that, it doesn't make sense to try to use TA for that as well. And I understand tokenomics, which we'll get into tokenomics. But again, I do see to Aerodrome, based off comparing it to Uniswap, which is kind of similar in functionality, and based off assuming that base is still going to be a strong narrative leading into this cycle, that Aerodrome itself is going to be still considered the token of base, we can just kind of guess on those factors, because at the end of the day, it is a guess. I can give you a very good scientific guess with TA for a short-term price action, but I'm not going to be able to give you realistically scientific guesses for those peak alt season, profits. So that's something I just like to address. There's been a lot of comments on that, and honestly, of course, it's justifiable to speak what you have to say, and I'm not here to tell you what you can or cannot say. I'm just explaining my side of things there. And again, that's kind of where I'm going. But Uniswap or Aerodrome, again, in comparing it to Uniswap, again, we've said it time and time again, it is crushing its functionalities, doing higher than TVL than Uniswap. A lot of people on base are starting to use Aerodrome for its functionalities, and you can see that in the volume as well. Tokenomically, again, we do bring up that inflation aspect of Aerodrome. However, if it is to go ahead and hit Uniswap's previous all-time high, it would still price it at around $35, even with its current inflation. And I don't think inflation is going to eat away at that too much. So that's honestly something to keep in consideration as well. You really just want to be watching the market cap of Aerodrome, not necessarily the price. That is ultimately what we're going to be placing our price predictions for it off of, is the market cap, which I think a 10 billion market cap is definitely achievable. And honestly, a $20 billion market cap is achievable as well. That places it around $15, $20, maybe a little higher. So just keep that in mind. We'll have to see what this one does, but in my opinion, this is a very, very safe bet for me. I'm looking to have a pretty heavy allocation into each of these coins. When I'm done in my current positions, I will cycle into these safer coins to just realistically have the safest growth within my portfolio, as I have pretty big convictions in each of these. Now, the second one is another base token. This is the last base token. I'm kind of getting the base tokens out of the way. Moonwell, we continue to talk about Moonwell. I love Moonwell so much. I believe it's trading at around 9 cents. Could be closer to 10 now. The time of this recording, I really haven't checked price action too much. So I called out Moonwell at around 3 cents, and I entered in at 3 cents, and I sold at around 9 cents, I believe, a couple months ago. And I am honestly looking to re-enter again for another long-term hold, long-term in an alt season being like 4 or 5 months, where I predict a top to come just based off previous cycles. But Moonwell is going, in my opinion, to do great numbers a cycle in terms of its price action. Tokenomics, there are token unlocks, I believe, every month for Moonwell, so you do have to keep that in consideration, especially with price increases. Token unlocks can have some impact on the price action, but I do like how No BS Crypto, I'd highly suggest checking them out, explain token unlocks as a whole. For example, Solana did have token unlocks, and I believe it might still do. But whenever its token unlocks happened, you'd expect that big price drop as people expect profit and they take out. But no, that's not honestly what happened at all. The price increased from token unlocks. So just to say that doesn't mean that every time there's going to be token unlocks, that means heavy sell-offs. And it's actually, in some cases, the quite opposite. So token unlocks as a whole, to really gauge what's going to happen with price, is kind of hard to do, just because sometimes, yes, token unlocks will cause sell-offs. I believe TIA is an example of that, but in some cases it won't be with Solana. So that's something to keep in mind. Realistically, we've seen token unlocks happen within Moonwell. It really has not done much to its price, so I do not think that trend will continue unless we get to the point where we are trading at around $1, $2, which I think is very reasonable for Moonwell, especially now with a bunch of different things it's doing that we'll talk about into a little more detail. But yeah, I don't think that's going to have too much of an impact on the price, even at those levels. But we'll have to play it by ear just because of how tricky that aspect is with the token unlocks. But Moonwell actually had a pretty big development, which actually, Curtis, you brought my eye to this. They released a debit card. Yes, Moonwell, and I believe it is a debit card. It's partnered with Visa. Moonwell has a Visa card that you can get right now, which I think is crazy. That's showing more integration within the real world. And so for a project to do something like that, that is just fun. Like, that's crazy to me. I think that's a huge step. Definitely something big for Moonwell to be taking. And I'm still highly convicted in this project. I will have a big bag whenever I exit out of some projects I'm in currently, which will be pretty soon. But yes, I am so excited to see Moonwell making progress. It is doing fantastic about what it has, what it serves in terms of functionality. I believe, I'm trying to think of the token that is pretty related to it, and comparing another borrowing and lending platform that was pretty big last cycle. Moonwell could hit that $2-3 range if it gets as popular as that other token did, which I don't know why I'm blanking on that. But with that in mind, with the borrowing and lending crypto space. There's, again, when I remember when Moonwell was, just starting off, there's a lot of FUD around it because of how, the borrowing and lending platforms worked in terms of defaulting and all these other aspects, and Moonwell has done great regardless. They've done over $1 billion worth of, I don't think it was volume, it was some sort of metric that they achieved over $1 billion of, which is crazy. They are crushing it on every level. Coinbase is going to continue to support them. Coinbase is invested into them. Honestly, a solid project that I don't think anyone could go wrong with it. It does have that lower market cap compared to the other coins we're going to be talking about. So out of all of them, I'd probably say it's the riskiest, even though in reality, in my opinion, it's not that risky whatsoever, but it's just a safe play in my opinion. So definitely worth checking out if you have not heard about it at all. And now we're going into number 3, being ICP. So ICP is Internet to Computer Protocol and is doing phenomenal. This is a coin that has been around for a little bit of time now, and it more recently has been doing a lot of integration with AI. It's not really considered an AI token. Some people do, some people don't. But ICP is basically allowing people to launch, let's see here. So AI projects are being built by using ICP. It's the most developed AI project in terms of developer activity, and this is coming from a user on X called Mike. It has major AI partnerships with ETH AI Center, Outlier Ventures to focus on AI decentralization. ICP is making AI more scalable, trustworthy, secure, and resilient with the use of blockchain. So ICP has their hand in a bunch of things, and they have Caffeine AI, which can build web apps just by speaking. So, and one more metric is that they can run AI, which are large language models fully on the blockchain. So definitely something to consider looking into here. It's honestly a coin that I know some pretty prominent people that are on the internet that have pretty big net worths that I talk to who have positions in ICP. So definitely something I'm going to probably have my hands in when I exit out of these short-term trades here and just hold this for around 5 months. Again, I think this project and a bunch of other projects that are providing severe utility are very important to get your hands in if you're looking for safe gains. This is going to be another project I'm going to recommend for you. Hasn't had its run like, something like XRP's had its run. There's speculation XRP is going to go up. When in reality, I think what's really happening right now is XRP is being treated like a meme coin. But, that's my opinion and the opinions of others. But that's ICP. I genuinely do see this one doing well. As far as price predictions go, I do think a 4-6x from here, comparing it to previous cycles, comparing it to, that's just a guess. It's not that best of a guess, but that's a guess I can give you. Nonetheless, but regardless, I think it's going to do well regardless of what numbers it hits. So keep that in mind. It's a safe play. Next up, number 4 is Render. Render is a token that I believe has been around since 2023, maybe 2022, if I am wrong. I believe 2023 though, and it essentially deals with AI and GPUs. Now, what makes Render so special is the fact that Render itself has solid tokenomics, as quoted by No BS Crypto. And if I quote this specifically, he says 82% of the total supply is in circulation paired with their burn met equilibrium. Burning more Render, the more the networks used for the rendering services, which is of course very good. And once again, he says they're arguably the perfect fit for the AI and deep-in narratives of this cycle. Yes, I 100% agree with that. And again, something else he goes over is their partnerships. If you do remember, Render was in an Apple commercial. We talked about that when that happened. Render's been partnering with NVIDIA. Renders with HBO, Netflix, PUBG, Microsoft, Dropbox. The list goes on and on. Render really does it all. Solid tokenomics. Really has its hand within the AI deep-in field, as he said, dealing with those GPUs. I've talked well about Render for a very long time, and I will continue to talk well about Render. Genuinely love this project, And yeah, I definitely think that Render, like he said, he expects an easy 10x from this current point, and I see the same thing happening. Realistically, this is one of the most undervalued projects in the market right now. There are a lot of undervalued projects because a lot of the focus is on memes. A lot of the focus is kind of pulled away from these undervalued newer projects that do provide so much value in the blockchain space. So definitely a coin to consider adding a position to, in my opinion, if you're looking for those safe gains. And then the final one, this might seem obvious to you, and it's kind of a duo, or actually a trio, is Solana, Ethereum, and Bitcoin. I think you can't go wrong with having the fundamentals in your portfolio. The fundamentals are ultimately, I mean, these three coins, Solana's kind of paved its way to becoming a fundamental. I simply believe that these coins are destined to have safe, solid gains, whether that's only a 2x, whether that's only 30, 40%. You can't go wrong with each of these three coins. Look at what they've done in the past, specifically Ethereum and Bitcoin, and look at what they are doing right now. Ethereum still needs its run. Solana still needs its run. It's only a matter of time before these coins hit their run, and ultimately, I really just would stress having at least some positions into each of these three coins, as you just cannot go wrong with the fundamentals. If you want to take the safest path in terms of altcoins, in terms of just crypto in general, having these three coins is the safest way you can earn money through a alt season and through a bull run like the one we are currently in. So that is going to be it for me today, guys. If you have any feedback, I really do love the feedback because it allows me to be able to, kind of review what you guys are saying and then implement that into my own videos. Really appreciate it, guys. Love you all. And with all that being said, I'll see you guys later.